so Lino knows that we answered.
When is the best time to transition from self-proprietorship to LLC or S Corp?
Cool. Also comes with a disclaimer that I am not an attorney, and you should consult with an attorney, and I will tell you an attorney to call and consult with, because I got a guy.
Oh, there you go.
I got a guy today. He's a good friend of mine, too. Also written some other cool books. I know some people. So, when is a good time to convert from a, what was it? From
self-proprietorship to LLC or
sole proprietor or self-proprietor to an LLC and an S Corp. So, all right, so story on this. When I started this company 13 years ago, I went to a buddy of mine who was my CPA. And again, you should ask your CPA, you should ask your attorney. So like, I'm a coach advisor. My job is to help you grow your income. A CPA is designed to help you pay your taxes properly. An attorney is designed to cover your butt so you don't get sued. So my job is to grow money. An attorney's job is to protect your money. A CPA is designed to tax or help you pay taxes correctly so you don't get thrown in jail. All important people.
Don't go to jail.
Don't go to jail. I haven't been to jail. I don't want to go to jail. This is not what I want to do. So, anyway, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. You also need to take advice from them. I will give you some advice based on my experience, but legally you need to talk to them also.
This is a third of the advice that you need.
Yeah, that's a good way to say that. So, okay. So when I started this company 13 years ago, I went to my CPA and I said, I'm going to start a company. Do I need to start an LLC or an S Corp in order to begin my business? And his advice to me at the time was, no, just run as a sole proprietor and like you'll be fine. And at the time, I'd been working with a whole bunch of people who were always advising me I should be an LLC or an S Corp right away. And I didn't really know what some of the benefits were or not. And this varies state by state. But in general, is like when you're a sole proprietor, you usually do all your business through your exact same personal bank account, right? If you earn income, it goes in your regular account, and then if you spend things, it comes to your regular account. All your money's intermixed with itself, okay? So it all mixes together, and it can become kind of confusing of like, where did that income come from? I don't know. Does my car payment count as a business expense? I don't know. Like, it gets messy, right? So I, first of all, always advise you create a business bank account and a personal bank account, and you separate yourself, even if you're going to be a sole proprietor first. Okay? So you always want to have a separate bank account that says business income comes in, I spend money, and then I pay myself a salary from that business to my personal account. That's the best thing you can do right out the bat. So if you're not doing that, Lino, start there, okay? Then the question becomes, well, how much, at some point, that business account is going to start to grow to a level that starts to get really large, and it's going to be making a lot of money, and instead of it being in a personal bank account, it should be in a business bank account.
Yeah.
If you want to have a business bank account, you have to either register to get a business license with the city, come up with an LLC documentation, or an S Corp and things like that, which then begs the question of like, you now need to talk to an attorney, which is not like millions of dollars, by the way. It's like $500 to $1,000. You can talk to an attorney and they'll advise you on what to do. And again, I'll refer you guys to Corporate Direct, a friend of mine named Garrett Sutton, who's one of the Rich Dad advisors. Tell him that Jason from the High Performance Salon sent you, and he'll hook you up. Like, he gives like a discount if you tell him that I sent you, so that way he knows.
Nice. Right
So
on.
that way it's a good deal. Anyway, so you can call up Garrett and like you can start an LLC. The main reasons that, again, I'm not a tax advisor, talk to your CPA. One of the main reasons why you would set up an S Corp or an LLC is because you want to be taxed differently on the income. So as an employee, you're at one tax rate. As a business owner, you're another tax rate. As a sole proprietor, you're another tax rate. And the general guidance is that you can actually pay yourself in multiple different tax rates if you're an LLC taxed as an S Corp or an S Corp taxed as an S Corp. And that'll vary state to state and all these other things. So it's usually a tax strategy of why you'd want to open up that business. And again, if you're only doing like $100,000 a year, maybe you leave it as a solo type operation. But if you start to do more than that, and when I started this story, when I asked my tax guy, he said, don't worry about it, Jason, just keep doing sole proprietor. And I didn't listen to my CPA's advice and started a company because I knew I was going to be a big business in the beginning. I'm like, I'm setting myself up to be a big business.
Spoken to the universe.
The reason why people would not do it in the beginning is they're trying to save $1. Because it's $800 a year to file with at least in California.
Yeah.
It's $800 a year to file with the state of California to have your LLC, and there's other requirements, things like that. So there's some money involved there.
Yeah.
So if you're only doing $100,000 a year, you might be like, I don't want to spend that $800. I get it, totally fine. Maybe you don't have to, but there's tax advantages later. And as you grow, like I've had an S Corp, and now I've grown to have business partners and other things that happen. I've had to switch from S Corps to LLCs, different tax rates and different things. And so like now, every time I open another business or another business division, it gets a separate LLC or an S Corp and all these different things. So if that's new to you and you haven't kind of played around in there, like, you need to start doing some research and understand.
Yeah.
You need to talk to your CPA. And by the way, don't ever listen to my advice independently. Run it by your CPA and your attorney.
Double check it.
Don't ever listen to your CPA's advice without running it by your attorney and your business
Jason.
coach, right? Like, that's really important because my CPA was not a good CPA at the time. Like, he was a good CPA for some people, but not for what I was trying to build.
Yep.
And so he gave me what I would consider to be bad advice for what I was trying to do. So sometimes even your CPA, it doesn't mean your CPA knows everything.
Yep.
It means you need to vet that information and figure it out. And what was the problem is, and I outgrew that CPA very, very quickly. So as my company grew, what you also should know about CPAs is ask your CPA what's their average size client. Not what's their top client, what's their smallest client, what's their average client, because that's happened to me a lot where, like, we've grown in income, and then, like, my one accountant, great dude, I love him to death, but, like, one of my accountants, he was like, I quit to go work with another accounting firm, and he's like, I was waiting because, like, you outgrew me like 2 years ago. I'm like, what? Like, could you have told me that I was your biggest client for 2 years? Because he's not going to tell me that. He doesn't want to lose me as a client.
Yeah.
But what the problem was, my advice and strategy I was getting was from somebody who actually didn't have any more advice to give me.
Oh, wow.
And so that's a really important thing, is to know who your advisors are. Do they run businesses that are larger? Are they constantly giving advice? So now my advisors are very, very large. I want to be the smallest client to that advisor. Because they'll help me get advice to get up further.
Yeah,
so just things to know. So again, just be aware, like, no matter what you're at and where you're going, I can't give you an exact advice, Lino, on like when is the time. It's not like at $100,000 a year that's the trigger or anything. But start doing the research. Go call Garrett Sutton and learn about that. You can go to corporatedirect.com. Like I said, tell them the High Performance Salon Academy referred you, and Jason Everett. That's always helpful. They'll give you some cool hookups. And by the way, you call them and say, I'm opening or I have a business. What do I need to do? And by the way, they're going to advise you to protect yourself, not on taxation. So call the attorneys to say, what type of protection do I have? Call your tax person to make sure it fits into your tax plan that you have, if that's even something that you have. Which is even one last thing about attorney protection. The reason why you would do that, so let's say you have a hair salon or a barber shop or a nail salon or a med spa, right? And as that med spa, you have a client who wants to sue you for something. I don't know, you fried their hair, you had a cryotherapy session that didn't go right, whatever, I don't know, something goes wrong.
I hope not.
But who knows? Like, let's say something goes wrong and you get sued for the business. If your business is in its own LLC or S Corp, it provides a layer of legal protection between you and the rest of your assets. So, like, my house cannot be sued the same way as the business can be sued. But if it's just as a sole proprietor, then I own a house, I have children, wife, income, I own buildings, and I also own multiple businesses. So if somebody tries to sue one of those businesses, if they're all in their own entities, it's like a silo of protection around that entity that says they can't sue everything that I own. So I can leave it kind of preserved in just like the salon would be the only thing in jeopardy, as opposed to the salon, and if I own the building for the salon and the house that I own and all this other thing. So it just starts to add layers of protection. Yeah. So, legal protection, CPA taxation, and then what it means for a growth strategy. And again, to me, on a growth strategy side of things, it usually has to do with how you're, paying your profit, how you take your money out, how you pay yourself. Because again, if I'm gonna take $10,000 out of the business this year, I want to pay the least amount of money on taxes on that $10,000. If you're a sole proprietor, you'll pay the highest taxes. If you're an S Corp or an LLC taxes as an S Corp, you'll pay the lowest taxes. So I want to do that one.
Well, yeah.
I want to do the one that's the lowest taxes. So.
Well, it's a lot to think about. We might have to rewatch that a couple times before we wrap your mind around it.
You're like, I gotta watch it 30 times to get my
like,
brain around it.
A lot of words I don't know. Wow, that's crazy.